Why, hello everyone, how are you doing this fine day? Hope you're enjoying your week. Welcome to another survival challenge, in particular, a solo leveling survival challenge. In case you've never seen one of my videos before, let me explain to you how this works. I take one particular universe or event or something cool that would be challenging for characters to survive, and then I take a bunch of characters from a bunch of different universes, chuck them in there, and just see how they'll do and talk about what might happen and all that different kind of stuff. Simple, right? Yeah. Cool. So today we're going to be taking 4 characters and throwing them into the Jeju Island arc. Basically, all you need to know is the Jeju Island arc is essentially an island that's isolated away from a bunch of other islands, and there's a bunch of crazy giant bug monsters that are trapped there because years ago, a bunch of S-rank hunters went to go stop an outbreak that happened there, and they failed. They got fucking myrtleized, and they had to flee. The ants couldn't go anywhere because they can't swim or fly or anything, so they were just stuck there. So they turned into cannibals, went insane, but as they were there, they started evolving, getting stronger and more powers. So after years and years and years of them just being stuck on this island and nobody really worrying about them, all of a sudden, some of them developed wings and started flying to the nearby islands, killing more people. And then all the humans were like, oh shit, we actually have to do something about this. We gotta go back to the island. They go back to the island. This is where the Jeju Island arc starts. And they have to take on this massive army of ants and kill the queen so that they can't produce any more ants. And since they can't produce any more ants, they could just leave then and just wait a couple of years and then all the ants will die out and problem solved. The problem is that they vastly underestimated how much these things had evolved, and they basically just start slaughtering all the fucking S ranks again. But like way worse than they did the first time. To give you an idea of how strong S rank hunters is in the solo leveling universe, when 2 S rank hunters fight, they pretty much always level an entire city. The range of powers between multiple S rank hunters do differ greatly, but pretty much all of them can destroy whole towns with no problem, and several of them are stated to be completely unaffected by being hit by nuclear weapons. So they are very, very powerful. Luckily for this challenge though, I don't have to go over all their crazy little powers and magical abilities because they're not a part of this. It's just to fight the fucking ants. That's it. So let's see how the survivors will do, shall we? First up on the chopping block, we have Dracula Hawkeye's Mihawk from One Piece. And I know people are going to be so annoyed with this placement. Let me be clear, Mihawk is the absolute strongest, fastest, and most skilled swordsman that we have on this list. So why are the other 3 ahead of him? This is due to how the power system of solo leveling works. In the universe solo leveling, all of the different creatures and goblins and bugs and ants and all the different kinds of monsters that the people in solo leveling fight against are completely immune to all forms of physical damage. They're literally incapable of being harmed by it. This is why the humans don't use their militaries to go through the rifts and fight. They don't just take a fucking giant nuclear warhead, shove it in the rift, and call it a day, because nukes, like even the most powerful of nukes, don't do anything to even the weakest goblins within solo leveling because they can only be harmed by magical items. Even the radiation from the nukes do not affect any of the monsters that come out of the rifts. This means that any character that I put in any challenge for solo leveling here or in the future, if they don't have some ability to use some kind of magic, they literally aren't capable of winning. It doesn't matter if Mihawk is capable of slicing whole tidal waves in half, or destroying islands, or even destroying the planet. If he brought his full force down upon the Ant Queen's face and split the whole planet in half, the Ant Queen would still be there and still be alive without a single bit of damage because she cannot be harmed by physical damage. None of the ants can. If that were the case, the humans in solo leveling would have just nuked Jeju Island and called it a day. Even if they weren't going to kill the strongest like Beru and the Ant Queen, they at least would have been able to wipe out all of the little worker ants and significantly lessen the level of their problem. They didn't do that because it literally wouldn't do anything. That means in this challenge, the best thing that Mihawk can do is destroy the island of Jeju and make everyone sink into the water, and then they will drown. However, that won't work on any ants that are capable of flying, which would count Beru, as well as a massive, massive army of ants that will then just fly around and cause havoc across the world, and there's really nothing that Mihawk can do about that. Now, this does bring up a question that I have about solo leveling as a whole, which is that the fact that the ants were trapped on Jeju Island and couldn't leave because they're incapable of swimming alludes to the fact that they still need air to breathe. Even if they couldn't swim, they would still be able to cross the ocean by crawling underneath the waves, and then eventually getting to wherever they needed to and take it over. So they need air to breathe. If that was the case, couldn't the humans in solo leveling just gas bomb the island? Or just use chemical warfare in any way? Like if you just mustard gas Jeju Island, wouldn't that solve your fucking problem if these things need oxygen to breathe? Or is the way that it works is that the ants are just completely immune to any physical damage no matter what, including chemical warfare? warfare, they will essentially just breathe in the air as if the chemicals aren't even there, because it like breaks the rules, because its whole system was designed by this godlike being who wants people to fight against the monsters in a very specific way, basically like a video game. And being able to use chemical warfare against these magical monsters would break those rules, so he just like took it off the table. I think that's definitely possible, but I also don't think there's ever a point where they try it, and I feel like they probably, you know, should have at least addressed that. The fact that they can't cross the water means they can drown, so obviously there are other ways to kill them other than magical items, but magical items is all they ever really use in the series. I'm not gonna go as far as to say it's a plot hole, but it is something that's very clearly ignored in the series, and I would like them to explain it. Now, some people are gonna argue that armament haki can be a replacement for magic, and with armament haki, he will be able to bypass the physical resistances that these characters have and damage them anyway. I think that that is a massive, massive stretch. Haki is really useful in One Piece, but magic doesn't exist in One Piece in any form. Haki is capable of being used to damage the true forms of Logia users and essentially bypass their devil fruit abilities, but that's not the same thing as it not being physical damage. It's still physical damage. It's not magical damage. So I don't think that there's any evidence that would essentially be able to act in a way outside of physical damage and suddenly become magical damage in order to hurt the ants. So no, I think that that's a pretty massive reach. Overall, there's just nothing Mihawk can really do here. I don't think he'll ever die. I don't even think that Beru, the strongest being on the entire island, is going to be able to fight against or beat him, but he won't be able to harm Beru either. If he's fighting a literal army of, I don't know, what, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of ants, and he's literally not capable of damaging any of them, it's just a matter of time before Mihawk gets overtaken, even if you have to wait weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks for his stamina to run out, and then he'll eventually just pass out of exhaustion of fighting things he can't actually damage. And then they'll just gang up on his unconscious, exhausted body and just fuck the shit out of him. He's done. Can't do anything. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Remember, to join the membership, you get videos early. And make sure to visit my second channel, Rouga's Real House, where I'll be putting all sorts of other different types of videos over there. Basically, anything that's not a survival challenge is going to go over there, including but not limited to probably a review of Doom: The Dark Age when it comes out, as well as Expedition 33, which I am currently playing, which is very, very good. Now back to the video. Next up, we have Jack from Samurai Jack. And again, just to be clear, Jack is not beating Mihawk in a sword fight. Mihawk is more skilled, he's stronger, he's faster. However, Jack is a magic sword. So, I mean, just that's it. He actually has the ability to damage the ants on Jeju Island, which is something that Mihawk can't do. Ergo, he has to automatically go first. Now, will he be able to overtake and defeat all of them? No, let's get into it. Luckily for Jack, one thing we're really not gonna have to worry about is him being overrun by the ants. In fact, like, episode, I don't know, 2 maybe of the show, maybe 1, I don't remember. It's literally the first thing he does when he gets thrown into the future is he fights a massive, massive army of robot beetle things by himself, wipes them all out pretty casually. Like, it's kind of difficult, sort of. And as the series goes on, he only gets more skilled, develops more abilities. So I don't think him being outnumbered by the massive amount of ants that are here are really going to be much of an issue for him. What is going to be an issue is the nature of how his magic sword works. It is magic, it is capable of doing magical damage, that's true. It is also specifically meant to kill evil. However, it doesn't negate durability. We see this in the episode where he has to fight against the robots, and his like shitty human arms aren't capable of actually hitting through the robots. Like, they just clink off of them, and then he has to call upon the power of his ancestors that enhance his weapon even more, and that allows him to actually cleave through them. But the fact is that in this episode, we see that there are limitations to what the sword can cut. If he's not strong enough himself to actually slice through it, the sword's not going to slice through it. And now we get to actually how powerful the ants are on Jeju Island. They're really fucking powerful. They're so strong that a pretty large number of S-rank hunters who are sent to the island get completely wiped out when they go there. And S-rank hunters in solo leveling are stupidly powerful. It is stated in the series that there are many S-rank hunters that are capable of taking on whole countries' militaries by themselves, and nuclear weapons don't work against them at all. When two S-rank hunters fight each other, it is said to be able to wipe cities off the map. At one point, we actually do see two S-rank hunters fight each other, and they destroy several city blocks, and some guy in charge of cleanup says how they're really lucky, and this is actually pretty, like, low levels of damage for two S-rank hunters who have fought. And the reason why that is because one S-rank hunter basically one-shot the other S-rank hunter. One was significantly more powerful than the other, and it wasn't really a fight that went back and forth. It was from, like, one or two attacks from one of the hunters did all of this destruction. Point is, S-rank hunters are extremely powerful. Now, while it is true not all S-rank hunters are this strong, they do vary, and, like, not all can take a nuke, not all can wipe out a city. There are many S-rank hunters that are sent to this island, and while we don't have evidence how strong most of them are, the odds that at least one of them are probably up there is pretty good chances. My point with saying all this is that I don't think Jack will actually be able to damage all of the ants here. I think he'll be able to damage the basic bitch ants, and I think he's definitely skilled enough to fight against a large number of them, but I don't think he'll be able to damage the queen. I don't think he'll be able to damage these stronger ants. I don't think he'll in any way be able to damage Baru, despite the fact that he's actually considerably more skilled and faster than Baru is. Also, the problem that Jack doesn't actually have a way of tracking down and finding the ant queen in the same way that Mihawk did. Like, Mihawk had observation hockey, so he can literally sense the entire island, know exactly where the queen is, know exactly where Baru is. Once he goes, finds the queen, and kills it, he will have then succeeded in his goal, which is to kill the queen, because that's the goal of the Jeju Island arc. Once you kill the queen, all the other ants will just die of natural causes after a couple of years because they don't live very long. I think that probably changes with Baru. I think you would actually have to kill Baru as well, because Baru can just eat the queen and then become the ant king and then do basically the same shit the queen was doing. So you'd probably have to kill, bare minimum, the queen and Baru. But Jack won't be able to actually find them, so he's just going to be walking around the island searching, having to fight way more of the ants than Mihawk was going to have to fight. And the longer he's walking around looking for the queen, the more likely it is that he's going to be killed by the army of ants that's out there. Again, he can fight against them, but there's limits. How long is it going to take him to actually find the queen and even attempt to fight it? And if he takes too long to find the queen's just going to send Baru out to search for him like she did in the series, and once Baru finds him, which he'll be able to do very quickly because he can just zoom across the island easily, they're going to get into a fight, and again, he can't damage Baru, so Baru will kill him. Now, there is some question of whether or not his ancestor power-up will allow him to damage Baru, because it does give him a stronger slashing power, but in the show, we only see him use it once against a robot, and that robot's durability is pretty strong. Like, he survives a massive explosion that nearly destroys a town, but that's nowhere near as much durability as some of the S-class hunters are shown to have, and likely Baru has as well, since he was able to slaughter all of them. My point is that there's no evidence in Samurai Jack that even with the ancestor power-up, he'll be able to negate the durability of the ants in order to slice and kill them. So he's fucked. Most likely he'll be slaughtering a bunch of ants all across the island looking for the ant queen, and then Baru shows up. They get into a fight. It's going to take a really long time for Baru to actually overcome him because, again, Jack is more skilled and he's faster. But Baru being too durable to actually be harmed by Jack, as well as being significantly physically stronger, so the likelihood is that Jack won't even be able to block his attacks effectively. He's basically just going to have to keep dodging. Even if he does block one of Baru's attacks with his sword, he'll go flying through the fucking forest, smashing through trees and mountains and all kinds of shit. It's really not looking good for him. All Jack could really do is stall until his inevitable death. Next up, we have Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho. This is such a weird list because as I go through the list, the characters are actually getting weaker and shittier at fighting. It almost seems like I'm doing the list in reverse, but I'm not. Trust me. While it's true that Kuwabara is not as skilled or as physically impressive as Jack or Mihawk, his powers kind of lend themselves towards his challenge in a way that theirs don't. So if you've never seen Yu Yu Hakusho, you should, because it's like really good. Without any exaggeration, I think the main character, Yusuke Urameshi, is probably the best written protagonist in a shonen series that I've personally ever watched. I mean, just the first 3 episodes alone gets you to really understand and like this character more than the first 50 episodes of a lot of other shows. In the series, Kuwabara doesn't have a whole lot going for him. All he has is a spirit sword. That's it. All the crazy over-the-top powers that Yusuke has and Hiei has and all these other characters have, and Kuwabara just makes a fucking sword. It's super simple. But the reason why this is something that's so useful for Kuwabara is because of the nature of the sword that he can make. Towards the end of the series, he gets the ability to actually cut through space and dimensions. And essentially, it's a sword that can cut through literally anything, no matter what. And I don't think that there's any evidence whatsoever that you could say the ants can somehow resist being sliced through when the literal fabric of reality can be sliced through with this sword. I mean, yeah, technically the spirit sword is not magic, but it's also not physical. Like, it's literally cutting through reality vary in dimensions. That's not a physical thing. In order to not be cut by the sword, you would have to be more than just resistant to all physical damage. You would actually have to be able to exist in a place where space is no longer there because it's been fucking sliced in half. That's not something that the ants are ever shown to have. So yeah, I think Kuwabara's sword could very easily damage all of them. You also have the fact that Kuwabara has extremely high, actually the most impressive in the entire series, spirit sense, which allows him to sense all different kinds of crazy things. He can sense ghosts. He's capable of fighting people in pure darkness and being able to tell exactly where they are and how they're there. And while yes, this sense is definitely stronger, the more powerful the enemy he's fighting is, because within Yu Yu Hakusho, they use spirit energy and he can sense spirits and souls and things like that. And the more spirit energy you have, the easier Kuwabara can sense you. He can sense any character that has a spirit or a soul. And since the ants are brought back to life in Sung Jin Woo's weird undead bug soul army, that shows pretty definitively that they do indeed have souls, means that Kuwabara should be able to sense them, and he's been shown in the series being able to sense people that are like on the other side of the city or several blocks away. So I don't actually think it's much of a stretch to say that he would be able to find the queen and kill the queen. The problem here is that much like Jack, he's not physically strong enough to actually face off against any of them. Jack was too physically weak. Kuwabara is too slow. He is considerably slower than both Jack and Baru, and basically any of these bugs would be able to more or less one-shot him. He will be able to counter that a little bit by the fact that he can sense them, means that he can kind of avoid them and sort of sneak by and try to get to the queen and one-shot the queen before he gets killed. But the fact of the matter is that he still has to fight the queen and he still has to fight Baru, and he's just not really all that smart or fast in order to be able to take them on successfully. Like, even if he kills the queen, which I actually think there is a chance, not a huge chance, because I don't think he's ever shown having any sort of stealth abilities. So the likelihood of him being able to successfully sneak, even if he does know where they all are, on an island where it's just fucking peppered with thousands and thousands of ant monsters. But if he can somehow do it, somehow get through without being caught, then kill the queen, he still has to deal with Baru. And he can't deal with Baru. He's too fucking fast. Baru is shown being able to kill S-rank hunters before they can even react to defend themselves against him, and S-rank hunters are significantly faster than Kuwabara. So yeah, is he really gonna be able to do much here? No, not really, no. You also have a fact that I have a very hard time even remembering a single time where Kuwabara took on more than one opponent at a time. Most fights in Yu Yu Hakusho are 1v1 fights. While there are situations where they have to fight more than one, it's usually like a group against a group. It's never a one versus many sort of situation. And I just don't think that Kuwabara has the skills necessary, even if he was fast enough and his sword can kill them, which it can, to actually be able to fight literally thousands of dudes at the same time in the same way that Samurai Jack or Mihawk can. As I said, in terms of skill, he's kind of the lowest. The only reason why he's ahead of both of them is because he's the only one that can possibly actually succeed, no matter how low that percent chance is. Like, Mihawk's chance of killing the queen and Baru is 0%. Jack's is also very likely 0%. If you want to add in the whole ancestral thing and maybe there's a possibility, then give him a couple percentage points for that, although I don't think there's nearly enough evidence to suggest that he would be able to do them with that. If you look at Kuwabara, it's very, very low percentage, like 5, 2. It's like, it's nearly non-existent, but it is there. So, you know, he's third on the list. Last up, but surely not least, we have Nightmare from the Soul Calibur series. He fucking wins. He wins. If you watch my videos for any amount of time, you know he wins. While he is not as fast or as strong as Mihawk, he's a fucking magical demon being. Like, all of his attacks, everything he does is magic based. So there's absolutely no doubt that he will be able to fight all of the ants and damage them. Now, normally he would not be able to take on Baru because Baru is faster and Baru is stronger and all this kind of stuff. This is a problem. But Nightmare has the ability that anyone he sees, he acquires the strengths, abilities, and skills of the people that he looks at. The moment he sees Baru, he will acquire all of the skill and speed and strength of Baru and will at bare minimum become equal to him. Except he won't be equal, he'll be far more skilled because he already has the skills and techniques of countless warriors he's been copying over the past several thousand years. But honestly, he doesn't even really have to do that. At one point in the Soul Calibur series, humanity throws an entire army of dudes at Nightmare, and with a single gesture, he ripped all the souls out of all of them. Thousands thousands and thousands of dudes, a whole army, in like a split second and just killed them all immediately. Really no reason why he can't do that here as well to the entire island. I mean, even if you want to say that he doesn't have that range, because we don't see clearly what the range of his soul sucking ability is, we still know he can do it to thousands of people. So if he wants to, he could just like walk around the island. Anytime he gets into a fight with some people, he just fucking soul sucks them immediately and continues on. There's no reason why he can't do this to Baru. There's no reason why he can't do this to the Ant Queen. It's just a matter of time before he completes this. There's literally nothing that can stop him. And even if all of that wasn't enough, even if Baru was immune to the soul manipulation and his combat skill was so amazing that he could compete with Nightmare, despite the fact that Nightmare can copy all of his abilities, you can't fucking kill Nightmare. The whole thing about Soul Calibur is that Soul Edge is possessed by this demon known as Inferno. And even shattering the blade of Soul Edge does not kill Inferno. He could still corrupt the souls of those around him, forcing them to wield the sword, then possess their body and continue the fight. So even if Baru could actually kill Nightmare, Nightmare would possess his body, have him pick the sword up, and now he would just be an even more superior body of Baru wielding the Soul Edge and just goes around doing his thing like he normally does. Honestly, I think you could probably put Nightmare in basically any situation across all of soul leveling and he would do more or less fine. Like even Sung Jin Woo would not be able to easily fight against Nightmare because Nightmare on sight would copy all of his powers and abilities. Like it's very possible that Nightmare on sight would just acquire access to the system in the same way that Sung Jin Woo has access to the system. And I don't think there's much of an argument to be made that Sung Jin Woo is a better swordsman than Nightmare. Sung Jin Woo at the end of the day is just like a 20-something-year-old dude who is superior to those around him because he's more powerful. While he does have sword skills that he's gotten through lots of experience of fighting different people, it's nowhere near that of Nightmare. Nightmare is one of those characters that you can put in basically any universe, and for the most part, he becomes the strongest being in that universe because anyone he looks at, he just acquires all their shit. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Nightmare is one of the strongest video game characters of all time. The only reason why he's weak is because the universe that he exists in is not a very strong universe. But his power system and how his power system works being applied to any other universe basically makes him like the strongest dude there, except for some very, very rare instances where characters just straight up can't copy someone's abilities or whatever. There are places where he would not just be able to completely dominate everyone, but there's virtually no fiction where he wouldn't thrive and be basically one of the strongest beings there. He is brokenly overpowered, and honestly, finding a universe that would be able to overcome him is going to be an interesting task for me. I'm not really looking forward to it, to be honest with you. So before I end the video, I just want to talk to you guys for a second. I know this video is considerably shorter than my normal stuff, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was Mother's Day weekend, and we had a crawfish boil and a party, and it was all this stuff was going on, so I didn't have time to like make a fully fledged video, but I wanted to get you guys something, so I just made this shorter video. But I'm also sort of batting around the idea of not making it permanent that I'm going to make these shorter videos, but basically the way YouTube works is that there are certain months where my channel is like super heavily pushed, and there's other months where my channel is not very heavily pushed, and they just don't show people videos, and I don't really know why. It just doesn't happen sometimes. Well, during the months where the algorithm doesn't push my videos, the longer videos that take me like 2 or 3 days to actually shoot and edit together and release really hurt the channel because I'm spending all of this time making a video that's only going to get between 5,000 and 10,000 views, and it kind of kills the channel as a whole. So I'm thinking that at the times where YouTube doesn't like really push my videos heavily to new people, I'll just make shorter, quicker videos kind of like this where I don't go into detail with the characters and the story, and then I can get more videos out so that the channel can kind of, you know, survive the slower times of year. And then in the months when everything goes back to normal, my channel's doing really well, I can go back to doing the long form videos. It's just an idea I'm kind of batting around at the moment, but I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys like these shorter ones, or do you fucking hate them? You like it more when I do the 45-minute to an hour-long videos where I go into really, really like hardcore detail and go on my little tangents and just sort of talk to you guys for a longer period of time? Let me know. I'll try and find a balance between the two in the slower months so that maybe I can give you a couple of longer videos, but mostly shorter videos. So I'm just sort of trying to figure out a way to do this in a, you know, more efficient manner, I suppose. Like I said, comment below and let me know what you guys think, how you guys would like me to go about it. Like normally I would have went in way more detail about Yu Yu Hakusho and Kuwabara and talked about One Piece and Mihawk and his character and all the different things he can do. And I just didn't do that this time. Again, because of Mother's Day. Not for this reason, but this is going to be kind of sort of what they're going to sort of be like. I'm thinking that these new videos won't be, 35 minutes to an hour and be closer to like, 20 minutes maybe. We'll see. But that's all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Remember, if you join the membership, you get videos early. And always remember, y'all stay safe out there, you hear?